cup of coffee. Soft, measured pace. Sarah Mitchell had been waiting tables at Rosie's Diner for 17 years. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was honest. At 53, with reading glasses perched on her nose and comfortable shoes that had seen better days, she knew every regular by name and how they took their coffee. Tuesday mornings were usually quiet. Just the early shift workers and the occasional traveler passing through. Pause. That's when he started coming in. An elderly man, must have been in his 80s, with kind eyes and hands that trembled slightly when he lifted his cup. He always sat in the corner booth, always ordered the same thing, black coffee and a slice of toast. He counted out his coins carefully each time. Exact change down to the penny. Gentle transition. His name was Henry. That's all Sarah knew at first. He was quiet, polite, and something about him reminded her of her own father, gone now 10 years. One morning in late October, Henry came in as usual. But when he reached for his wallet, his face fell. "I'm sorry," he said softly, his voice carrying the weight of embarrassment. "I thought I had enough. I'm $1 short." Pause, warmth in voice. Sarah had seen this look before. Pride wrestling with need. It was a look she'd worn herself more times than she cared to remember. "Henry," she said gently, "your money's no good today. Coffee's on me. I couldn't possibly. You can and you will. We all need a little help sometimes." She poured his coffee, brought his toast, and wouldn't hear another word about it. Pause. The next week, the same thing happened. And the week after that. Sarah never mentioned it. She'd simply smile, pour his coffee, and when he tried to pay, she'd wave him off. "My treat today, Henry," her manager noticed. "Sarah, you can't keep giving away free coffee." "Then take it out of my tips," she said quietly. "He needs it more than I do." Scene transition. Reflective tone. What Sarah didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that Henry Caldwell wasn't poor at all. He was one of the wealthiest men in the state. Founder of Caldwell Manufacturing, a company that employed thousands. But after his wife of 60 years had passed, he'd fallen into a depression so deep he couldn't remember who he was anymore. Pause. His children, worried, had convinced him to see a therapist. The doctor had given him unusual advice. Live like you have nothing. See how the world treats you. See if you can find meaning again, not in what you have, but in who you are. So Henry had taken a small apartment across town, left his wallet mostly empty, and started taking morning walks to a little diner called Rosie's. Gentle transition. He was testing the world in a way. Testing humanity. After 60 years of people wanting something from him, his money, his influence, his name, he wanted to know if anyone would be kind to just Henry. Most people weren't unkind, exactly. They just didn't see him, an old man shuffling in counting pennies, invisible. But Sarah saw him. Pause, emotion in voice. She saw him, and she cared. Not because of who he was or what he had, but because he was a person who needed a cup of coffee and a moment of dignity. Week after week, she paid for his breakfast. Sometimes it was just $1. Sometimes it was $3. It came out of tips she needed. Her own daughter was in community college and every penny counted. But Sarah had learned long ago that you can't take it with you. And kindness? Kindness has a way of coming back around. Scene transition. It was a Tuesday morning in December when Henry came in with an envelope. Sarah was wiping down tables, preparing for the lunch rush. Henry sat in his usual spot, but this time he didn't look at the menu. "Sarah," he said, "could you sit with me for a moment?" First, she glanced at her manager, who nodded. The morning crowd had thinned out. "I haven't been entirely honest with you," Henry said gently. "My name is Henry Caldwell. Perhaps you've heard of Caldwell Manufacturing?" Sarah's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't interrupt. "I've been testing something," he continued. "Testing whether kindness still exists in this world. Whether people can see past appearances, past what someone has or doesn't have." Pause, warmth in voice. "You've paid for my coffee for 2 months now. You've smiled at me like I mattered. You've called me by name. Do you know how rare that is?" Sarah felt her eyes sting. You reminded me of my dad, she said softly. He used to say everyone's fighting a battle you know nothing about. The least we can do is be kind. Henry slid the envelope across the table. This is for you. Not charity, gratitude. You gave me something more valuable than coffee. You gave me hope that good people still exist. Pause count. Inside was a check. Sarah's hands shook as she read the number. $50,000. I can't accept this, she whispered. You can, and you will, Henry said with a gentle smile, echoing her own words back to her. Your daughter's tuition, a new car so you don't have to take 2 buses to work anymore. Maybe a vacation. When's the last time you took a vacation, Sarah? Gentle transition, emotional. She couldn't speak. Tears ran down her cheeks as years of worry, of stretching every dollar, of wondering if she'd ever get ahead, finally released. But Henry wasn't finished. There's something else. Caldwell Manufacturing is starting a foundation. We're going to help people, really help them, not just with money, but with opportunity, job training, education, support. I'd like you to help run it. Bowser, me? Henry, I'm just a waitress. No, he said firmly but kindly. You're someone who sees people, who leads with compassion. That's not something you can teach. That's wisdom. Slow, reflective pace. Sarah Mitchell became the face of the Caldwell Foundation. She never forgot where she came from, still had breakfast at Rosie's every Sunday, still knew all the regulars by name. But now she could do more. She could help the single mothers, the elderly, the people who fell through the cracks, the ones counting pennies for a cup of coffee. Pause on Henry lived 5 more years. Good years, full of purpose. He and Sarah became dear friends, partners in kindness. At his funeral, Sarah stood before hundreds of people and told them about a cup of coffee. He tested the world, she said, and he found what he was looking for. Not because the world is perfect, but because kindness still exists. Sometimes you just have to look for it, and sometimes you have to be it. Final pause, gentle and warm. Years later, Sarah would still buy coffee for strangers who came up short. She'd smile and say, "Your money's no good today," because she'd learned something from Henry Caldwell. Soft close. Kindness isn't about grand gestures or life-changing amounts of money. It's about seeing people, really seeing them, treating them with dignity when the world makes them feel invisible. It's about a cup of coffee on a Tuesday morning, and the reminder that we're all just human beings, trying our best. Gentle final pause. That's worth more than all the billions in the world. Total character count, 6/847.